How you doing, guys and girls? We're going to do another album reaction today. This is an album that's been getting a fair amount of hype, and it's a 2018 album. It's brand new. I want to say it just came out this month. This is May. I think today may be the 21st. This album just came out, and it's by a band that I've had a lot of respect for a long time. They formed in 1990. They're a Finnish band. They're called Amorphis, and they've got tons of studio albums under their belt. I haven't really digged as deeply into their discography as I've wanted to, but there's so much stuff out there that how are you going to get to everything, right? And this band is a band that I've looked at for a long time as just really consistent, really solid. I love the vocalist. I don't know his name. Maybe you guys can help me out with that in the comment section. But they just have a knack for writing great songs, you know, good, catchy riffs, good lead vocals. They're kind of a cool gateway band, I feel, for a lot of people. You know, their music is accessible in a way that is interesting because it doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel like they're trying to be accessible per se. But I think a lot of people who don't listen to metal on a regular basis can appreciate a band like Amorphis just because of the way the songs are structured and because of the vocals. So anyway, this is their latest album. It's called Queen of Time. And love the album cover. I'm going to put that right here for you guys. We're going to jump right into it. The first track is called The Bee. It's 5 minutes and 30 seconds long. This album is long. It's 12 songs. It's over an hour. It's an hour and 9 minutes, almost an hour and 10. And this is gonna be a long video, so you guys will have to strap in. But yeah, the first song is called The Bee. I'm gonna jump right into it. You guys hear how the music went up an octave just now? I love that whenever singers will do that, but also bands sometimes. The music, they've established a certain melody, a certain theme, and then they'll use that a couple of times. The third time or the fourth time they use it, they'll go up an octave. It makes the song more intense, but it also adds some variety to the song. So I really like that. The electronic melody in the background, I think fits really well in this song. It's not cheesy, it's not over the top, it's not in your face, it's just to provide some ambiance. His vocals sound excellent as usual. The growls sound menacing and deep and monstrous, and that's really a good thing. If it's the same guy doing the growling and the melodic vocals, or if it's two guys, one doing the melodic and one doing the growls, guys in the comments, please let me know, because I don't know too much about the lineup of this band and who does what and what the responsibilities are. So overall, and the riff in this song so far is really good. I think it sounds a little bit Middle Eastern, if I'm going to be honest with you. Sounds a little Middle Eastern, little Sumerian, a little bit of that influence going on in the guitar playing, but overall, I think this is a great track, and you guys hear what I'm talking about with how catchy their music can be. This song is catchy, and I think this would grab a lot of people who don't typically listen to a lot of extreme metal, so we're going to continue with the track and let it play out. The way that song was arranged was just beautifully done. There weren't really any dead spots in the track. The only dead spot I can think of would be where the instrumentation got kind of silent, the distortion left, and all you had were the female vocals in the background, but I think that was kind of a cool change of pace and a nice relief from the rest of the track. And then you had the female vocals, like I said, in the background and singing this sort of in this Middle Eastern style, and then the music kind of built and built and built back up, and then they went right back into the chorus. So that was cool. This entire song, it seems to me, was just very well constructed, catchy, powerful, melodically brilliant. I mean, this was a great track. So right off the bat, they start off with a great song. I'm going to get to the second track here. It's called Message in the Amber, and it's 6 minutes and 44 seconds.
Your heart
Anytime a melody makes you feel like you're at a Renaissance festival, then you can almost bet that it's influenced by European folk music. And this melody that they use in this song sounds like it's from European folk. So this is really cool. First we had the first track, it sounded very Middle Eastern, and now we're in ancient Europe, you know, so this is pretty cool. I love the way they're able to transition from the softer, more melodic passages to the heavy stuff. They do a really good job going back and forth. It doesn't feel sudden, it doesn't feel jarring, it doesn't feel like they're reaching too much. It flows really well. I think they've got a lot of practice at doing that, because to me that's part of what makes Amorphis who they are. They're just very good at being a dynamic band and going back and forth like that. And it helps with the guys' vocals, switching from those cleans to the growling and the barking, you know. So far, this is an excellent track in my opinion as well, man. It's a little bit longer. It takes a little bit more patience, but I think this track is just as good as the prior track. I think it's just different, you know. It's got a different sound, a different vibe, and I'm interested to see what happens in the second half of this thing, if they're going to kind of ride that essential melody until the end and follow the same formula they've been following in this song, where they go from clean and soft to heavy and dark and just go back and forth like that, or if the song's going to change entirely. I don't know, so we're going to find out. Overall, that was a fantastic song. I love the choir vocals in there. They sound very epic and majestic, and it makes you feel like you're in some ancient European cathedral somewhere, but back in like the 12 or 1300s or something. It's really, when you hear that in metal, it's always, if it's pulled off and it's done right, it really adds a lot to the track, and it's authentic. You can tell with these guys, like they're from Finland. They probably have a lot of that history, that ancient history around where they're from, and so it makes sense to hear something like that in one of their songs. They did. I wondered if they were going to use the same melodic theme throughout the track, and they did. They're very consistent, but the music's not repetitive or boring. They're repeating some of the same sections, but to me, what I'm hearing is so interesting that I don't really mind. I'm not watching the clock or tapping on my wristwatch, you know. I really enjoyed that song. I think so far they've got two great tracks. There's another song that's been coming into my recommended videos feed on my YouTube channel that's a song off this album, and I can't remember what it was. I'll be interested to see if I can pick that out as I go through this album and listen to it. And one more thing, I wanted to say that I said that the Middle Eastern influence was on the prior track, and this one was more folk, European folk, but there was actually some cool Middle Eastern guitar playing right around the 3-minute and 40-second mark. I'll see if I can find it for you guys. So I wonder if that's going to be a theme throughout this whole album, or what's going on with that, because so far these two tracks have carried that influence in there. This one a lot less than the first track, but I'm curious to see if that's something that they return back to again and again and again, and if that ends up being a primary melodic influence on this entire album. Overall, thought that was a great track. Again, I'm going to move on to the third track. This is called Daughter of Hate. When they get real heavy like that, the song and this band, they just have a very full, thick sound, man. It's just all enveloping. And the contrast between that and when they're playing those sort of simple, minimalist riffs, and the drums playing a simple beat and the guy is singing, and they're going back and forth, it's just crazy in the song. I just love it. But did you guys notice? Here comes our best friend, right? The saxophone again. That is so trendy in metal right now, man. So many extreme metal bands are using saxophone in their music, and I don't know how long this is going to last. I think it's a trend that'll maybe last a few years, and then it'll probably go away, but it seems like everybody wants to insert that in their songs all of a sudden, and I don't know where that came from. You know, I'd like to be able to trace that back to a certain band in extreme metal that did that and figure out what caused that to become a thing. But like I said in the Mammoth video, that is becoming a new cliche in extreme metal. It's like if you release an extreme metal album, there's almost guaranteed to be some saxophone in it. Anyway, this is a good song too. I'm not sure if I'm digging it as much as the first two, but I think it's still good. It's definitely got a lot of the same qualities that the first two songs had. Yeah, it's interesting. I like his voice. His voice is insane. It's great. It's clear, crisp. He can sing low. He can go up a little bit in register, but it sounds, he's not singing real high. There's not going to be any falsetto on this album, but he's got a great voice, and I think that it works really well with their music. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of this song out. See how they brought the choir vocals back? Those particular style of choir vocals, though, is a lot different from the ones that they used in Message in the Amber. These sound a lot more ancient, older. These sound like they belong on the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, or maybe some crazy Roman gladiator movie. I loved those in the track. I thought they added a lot of character to the track, and also at about 4 minutes in, the way they broke into that acoustic section, it was just beautiful, man. They do such a great job, like I've already said, of creating these softer passages in the music. It makes you appreciate more the heavy stuff when it does come. And then when they decide to raise back up the intensity, the guy's voice comes in, the growling, and it's so guttural and so intense, and it sounds like a demon is barking at you. It's fucking badass. I love the vocal versatility, the compositional versatility. Obviously the saxophone was played a lot in this track. You know, they've used Middle Eastern type of guitar playing. They've used stuff from European folk, and now we have a jazz instrument, the saxophone. So they're attempting to be at least a little bit varied and multiple and experimental on this album, and I really appreciate that. Actually, I think that it's every band should strive to be, whatever subgenre they're in, they should strive to expand the edges of that subgenre. They should do that by experimenting here and there, but consistently throughout the body of an album within the limitations of a subgenre. So you're inside of a box, but then you want to see what you can do with it, how you can possibly expand it. And that's, to me, that's what creativity is. You know, you're not just making something weird for the sake of being weird, and you're not completely conforming to the cliches of a given subgenre, but you're finding some sort of middle point between those two. And that's what I really like to hear in extreme metal, and what I like to hear in music, period. All of my favorite bands do that. They're all within a certain genre or subgenre, but they all expand the limits of that subgenre in interesting and innovative and ingenious ways. I think Amorphis is doing a good job as far as aiming for that artistic height, that artistic goal. They're doing a great job on that with this album. We're going to move on to the fourth track, The Golden Elk. This track is 6 minutes and 22 seconds. This song is a masterclass in how to write good metal rhythms, like rhythm guitar. Headbang almost the whole way through this thing. And his vocals obviously are really great. This is reminding me of another song. It's going to drive me crazy, but I can't think of what it is. Oh, this song reminds me of a Cradle of Filth song. I can't remember what it's called, but I believe it's off of Thornography. But Danny Filth is singing about a mushroom cloud in the song. I don't remember what it is. But yeah, the riff in this song reminds me of that a lot. But this so far, this is my favorite song. You want me to be honest? I think this song is pure adrenaline right here, man. So far, this is looking pretty good. I'm gonna let the rest of it play out. There's exotic instrumentation almost on every track, and it's always different. This track, they used a lot of string instruments in the background, and I thought they added a lot of, I don't want to keep saying character, but they added a lot to the track. It made the atmosphere of the track come alive. This band knows what it's doing. Okay, it has a style, it has an aesthetic, they know how to write songs, they're professional musicians. This sounds like, this album, to me, feels like the work of professional musicians who have been in the game a long time. It's like the difference between watching somebody who's been doing stand-up comedy, for example, for a couple of years, and watching somebody who's been doing it for 15 years or 20 years. I'm blown away by this thing, and you know what's funny is they actually do Middle Eastern metal a lot better than a lot of Middle Eastern bands. I don't know if they've been listening to a lot of Orphaned Land or what's going on here, but there's definitely a vein, a strong vein, a river of Middle Eastern melody and harmony and just ideas from Middle Eastern music all throughout these first 4 tracks. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a recurring theme on this album, which I think they pull it off really well. I think they have a good ear for melody. But yeah, that was definitely my favorite track. So far, it would be The Golden Elk and The Bee would probably be the top 2. And then Message in the Amber just below that, and then below that, Daughter of Hate. So far, so good though. There hasn't really been a dud on this thing yet. They're just really good, solid songs here. We're gonna move on to the 5th track. This is called Wrong Direction. This song sounds like more of a spotlight for his vocals, and he's doing a great job. Like, that's the funny thing, is that Amorphis doesn't have to rely on all of these spectacular riffs in order to make the music interesting. Before our last video, we heard Merciful Fate, and Merciful Fate has got a lot of great kind of technical rhythms and solos and leads in there, and that stuff's great. Like, I love that stuff. But you get the feeling with a band like Amorphis, just because of the way they write songs and the way the music sounds, the way the guy's voice is, the way he sings, they don't really have to go there. You know, they can kind of just do what they're doing, which is create catchy, sort of head-bobbing rhythms that are relatively simple, and have this guy sing over the top, and it sounds great. Yeah, this is another good song, man. I don't know if I've ever heard a bad Amorphis song. I'm really impressed. I looked up this guy, the lead vocalist, and it looks like his name is Tommy Joutsen, sorry. It's either Joutsen or Joutsen. I'm not sure. You guys in the comment section that are Amorphis fans, please help me out with that. It says his style is similar to Nick Holmes from Paradise Lost. I can definitely see that. He sounds a lot like the guy from Paradise Lost. Haven't listened to a lot of Typo Negative, but I do know that the singer from Woods of Ypres, well, he's more than a singer, the multi-instrumentalist, creative force behind Woods of Ypres, that guy, everybody says that guy sounds like Peter Steele from Typo Negative. They're saying that Peter Steele's also, his vocal style is very similar to this guy from Amorphis, so pretty cool stuff. I'd like to find out, because it looks like they had a previous singer, Pasi Koskinen, and I'd like to find out if that song, the Amorphis song Alone, you guys know what I'm talking about, if that was the original singer or if that was Tommy. Anyway, I'm just curious, but so far, this is a great track too. Not a lot of frills and exotic stuff coming out of this track. I'm going to be interested to see if they introduce any of that in the second half here, because we've seen it so much on the prior tracks. But so far, very, very good stuff. Right on cue. That sound you guys just heard at the end there, it sounds almost like a guitar, but it could also be electronic. It sounds like it's almost a hybrid in between the two. I'm not sure. That was all over this track, and it was all over the B as well. I actually think they're doing a good job incorporating that into the music. Like I said before, it's not over the top, so it's something that I can handle and it's more palatable. It doesn't ruin the music. But this second half of the song was so good, man. They dropped into that softer passage like they usually do, and then they had, I think that was a flute, some type of flute or maybe an oboe or something, and they had that electronic sort of digital effect on their voices. That was unexpected, but I liked it. And then the drums were just pounding, and it was building and building, and then they broke back into an earlier section from the song, but the octave was higher once again. And the way they did that, it made it so intense and epic, and I just loved it. The way they kind of rode that until the end of the song. I think that this, along with the Golden Elk, are my two favorites so far. I'm going to get on to the 6th track. This is Heart of the Giant, 6 minutes and 32 seconds. So far, this song, the melody isn't really grabbing me so much. I'm not a huge fan of folk music, especially like European folk. I think it sounds cool. The melodies don't necessarily have any cultural or emotional impact on me. It's sort of this foreign thing. So I'm hearing it in this track right here, that sort of thing. And while it sounds all right, it's not something that I'm really over the moon about. But I do like the intensity and the tempo of the track. I think it's a really upbeat, adrenaline-filled track. And I specifically enjoyed the way the track started with the classical instrumentation and the strings. It just sounded very epic, man. There's a few bands out there that use classical instrumentation, but they use it to sound brutal or to sound epic or monstrous or evil or etc., etc., etc. I always love that because I think too often classical, like strings, flutes, even you could argue like pianos or even, choirs or things like that. Too often those are used in sort of the stereotypical, oh, let's make this section beautiful type of way. And I like that stuff too, but whenever a band can use that type of instrumentation to take the song to another level of darkness or eeriness or ferocity or intensity, I really appreciate that. I think it's a cool, inventive way to use that instrumentation, and it fits better, in my opinion, with the aesthetic of just metal in general. So, but I think this is a good song too, but it's probably not going to be one of my favorites. Second half of that track was perfect. I didn't really like the first half too much, but the second half, man, from about 3:30 or 3:45 on, I thought that was intense. It was beautiful. It sounded mysterious and ancient in a way because of the exotic instrumentation. It sounded like, I was on the Giza Plateau somewhere. I didn't expect this, man. This is really cool stuff. And I think Amorphis, they wear that aesthetic very well. I think the guy's growl reminds me of the vocalist from Draconian. I don't know if you would categorize Amorphis as Death Doom, per se, or what they're categorized as, but the second half of this song, back to what I was saying earlier, is just, I loved the melody here. I'll back it up so you guys can hear it. There was also some keyboard in there. There was some choir vocals back in there. It seems like they're really going to great lengths to provide interesting instrumentation on every single song. And I don't know if that's something they've done on all of their albums throughout their career, but I'm glad they're doing it because it makes these longer songs more palatable, because there's more to chew on as you're listening to it. I thought the second half of that song was fantastic. So yeah, so these 6 songs I've heard so far, man. They're really, really solid. I'm definitely seeing, and I can understand the hype that this album is getting, because this is a good album right here. I haven't listened to tracks 7 through 12, and 11 and 12 are bonus tracks, but I haven't listened to those yet, but I have a feeling that they're going to be to a certain standard of quality that Amorphis has set for themselves, and you know, I'm excited to hear the rest of what this album has to offer. We are going to move on to track 7. This is called We Accursed. It is 1 second shy of 5 minutes. I'm going to call that melody playing in the background folk-ish, because I don't know if it's authentically 100% folk like the one from Message in the Amber or some of the other ones that we've heard on this CD so far. But I loved the riff during that, man. It's so just blood pumping. I've never had an album that so consistently made my head nod or my head bob. Like this is so good, man. I can't believe that they've kept this level of consistency up through 7 tracks. A lot of bands struggle to be consistent for that long, and these guys are somehow managing to do it. I think it's because, for what it's worth, Amorphis does have a little bit of a formula to what they do. It doesn't seem like there's too much variety in the riff writing on this album, but where they lack riff writing variety, they make up for with variety in the additional instrumentation and in the vocal delivery. So they keep the songs interesting, but not because the guitarist is laying down all these cool riffs, not like on the Merciful Fate album that I just reacted to, but they do it through other means. Like in this song, it sounds like there's some strings or maybe a synth in the back and just playing this melody, and that kind of makes the track, you know? It makes, even though the riff is badass, there's just that added dimension when you talk about the melodic profile of the song. And I haven't heard any cleans on this track yet either, so that's a new one for this album, I feel. If you guys know I'm wrong, go ahead and type it in the comment section as usual. But I'm going to go ahead and finish out this track. I am so glad they brought his clean vocals in there. The last minute or so, his cleans came in. That was so cool. It was so good. That just makes the track for me again. I love the way his voice sounds with this music, man. There's a lot of vocalists that their voice wouldn't work with this music. People say that he sounds like Nick Holmes from Paradise Lost. That may be true, but could you imagine King Diamond trying to sing over this? I can't. That would be weird as hell, man. I think this guy's voice matches the music very well, and when he sings clean like that, it's a perfect marriage, and I find myself I could hear that all day, you know, and never get tired of it. That was a great song again. They kept my head bobbing the entire song, and there's just not really a lot wrong with it. I mean, there's no solos, there's no fanciful guitar work, there's no drum fills. It's pretty straightforward, but it's not at the same time. Like, this album so far has been very progressive. Like, they've got all sorts of exotic instrumentation in here. There's been saxophone. Here we heard a pretty unabashed, unashamed keyboard in here. And I think Amorphis is proving that they're willing to, despite their conventional approach, some would say, they're willing to experiment too. And I think it's paying off really well on this album. So another great song on this album. 7 in a row, man. No duds. So we'll see what continues here. We're going to go with track 8. This is called Grain of Sand. There's not really any moments of rest in this music either. Like, I'm thinking about when to pause it, and I always have to pause it in the middle of something. Like, there's no breaks in the middle of the track. There's no time to catch your breath. It's pretty up-tempo, just in your face all the time. It's not in your face in the same way that a Death album's in your face, but it still demands your attention. This song might be one of my favorites on the whole album, man. This is so cool. I love the melodic choices that they're making in this song, and the wall of sound that they created. If I go back, it's a lot going on, but it doesn't annoy me because I can hear everything clearly and nothing's being drowned out. It's just all working in perfect harmony with one another. Man, I can't say enough about this song, and this album is impressing me so much. This song is fantastic so far. This is going to end up being one of my favorites on the album, I can tell. times has that been now that I've had to give a song on this album a standing O? Or not just an O, but a round of applause, I mean. That was excellent, man. This is my favorite song on the album right there. I loved the chorus in that song. It was so addictive, man. This song, Grain of Sand, is their most interesting, majestic, beautiful, powerful song that they've had so far on this whole thing. I mean, I was headbanging during this thing. Like, I don't usually headbang to Amorphis songs. They just don't bring that out of me, but I was during this song. Those riffs were intense. I'm so blown away by that song. I'm so blown away by this album. I don't really know what else to say. I'm going to move on to track 9, Amongst Stars. This song is 4 minutes and 50 seconds. What the hell? This is the folkiest, most progressive album of all time. This is insane, man. Like, every single song, they pull another card out of their sleeve, you know? Another card falls out of their sleeve. They just have so much to offer and so much to offer metal. Like, this band is so spectacular. I can't believe I haven't listened to more of their music. Like, they have a huge discography, and I've listened to some of their music, but not enough, man. This has won me over big time, because this is another badass song right here. I love the fact that they brought female vocals to the forefront on this track. They sound so good. A lot of death doom bands have female vocals, and they use that heaven and hell or angel and demon technique where you have the girl singing and then you have the guy come in with the deep gutturals. There haven't been any deep gutturals on this track so far, but I think the contrast still works with her voice and his voice kind of going back and forth. It's like they're doing a mini duet. This track again is excellent. There's so much folk here that it's kind of overwhelming. It's almost like I'm listening to a Wilderun album or a Teresa's album. I don't know what to say, but it's all over the place, man. I don't mean the music's all over the place, I mean the folk influences are all over this album. So far, again, this is a great track. I'm gonna go ahead and finish it out.
I'm seeing the lights up in the sky, like beacons on another shore. So don't look back, don't look ahead, just close your eyes.
She's got such a great voice. And on top of that heavy instrumentation, it just sounds so cool. There was a little growling at the end. I don't know if you guys caught that, but that was interesting. And then, did you guys catch the transition that they did? They were like, okay, well, you haven't heard us do this yet. We're going to go ahead and shred. There's going to be some shredding on the guitar. We're going to have a solo, a proper solo. And then we're going to transition into this section where it's acoustic guitar, piano, and the guy singing clean over the top. I don't know if you guys caught that, but let's...
Close your eyes now, give in to the night. Soar above the stars, the blooming.
I feel like they're just showing off at this point, man. They should show off. Like, they've put in their time. This should be expected, almost, from veterans like Amorphis that have been around since 1990, and they've been a solid band this whole time. And this is their latest album, and it's fucking fantastic, man. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Again, usually in my really, really positive reviews, I've done a couple of them on this channel, I run out of things to say. I run out of adjectives just because the music starts to become overwhelming. And I lose my ability to kind of describe it and to continue commenting on it because I'm just being beaten over the head with how good it is. And I think right now, on the 9th track in a row, every song is good. I think I've reached that point with this album. My favorites, if you want to know that, my favorites so far are Amongst Stars, Grain of Sand, Wrong Direction, The Golden Elk, and The Bee. Those are my absolute favorites, and there's 5 of them on this thing. I mean, the other tracks that I haven't mentioned, We Accursed, Daughter of Hate, Message in the Amber, those are probably the next level. Below that's probably Heart of the Giant, even though I did enjoy the second half of that song a lot. What can you say, man? They're just an incredible band, and this is an incredible album. So I'm going to go ahead and listen to track 10. This is called Pyres on the Coast. 6 minutes and 19 seconds.
They
stop it during that epic section right there. But man, this is the way you close out an album. It's supposed to be these 10 tracks. These are the original 10, and then they have 2 bonus tracks. This is how you close out an album, people. I love, this is melodic death doom all the way. Like, this sounds exactly like Rapture, like early 2000s Rapture. It's just fucking badass. It's so cool. Just the way they've constructed this song. I love, again, the exotic instrumentation kind of as the backdrop for what's happening with the guitars and the vocals and the drums. Sounded like a keyboard initially, but now we've got some more classical instrumentation with the strings. The guy's growl, again, is menacing, it's powerful, and the riffs, obviously, they make your head bob and knock, and this is just great shit right here, man. I can't say enough about this band and this album. If you guys, any of you guys, have gotten to see Amorphis live, you are lucky. Consider yourselves lucky, because this is definitely a band that I would want to see live. I bet they play a killer live set, man. Depending on the songs on this album that they play when they go on tour for their new album, it could be incredible. It could be amazing. I bet they put on a fantastic live show. And if they come anywhere near this area, I am going to see them, specifically to see them play the songs off of this album. And I will be purchasing this album at some point this year. I don't know when. I don't know when I'm going to have the money, but I'm going to be purchasing this album at some point this year and driving around and listening to this thing over and over and over and over again. I love this track. I love this song so much. A lot of closers are too long. They're anticlimactic. They're a little bit pretentious. Like, this is none of those things. I know it's 6 minutes and 19 seconds, but so far what I've heard on this song, it's so good that I wouldn't mind if they did this for over 6 minutes. Finally, a band puts one of their best songs as the closer on an album. A lot of the albums I've reacted to, the final track, the true closer, has been something that's been either average or just okay or pretty good, or But that, Pyres on the Coast, is one of the best songs on this entire album. If I had to say, the two best songs on the album are Grain of Sand and Pyres on the Coast. And then under that, maybe Amongst Stars, The Golden Elk, Wrong Direction, and The Bee. And then it goes down from there. But Pyres on the Coast is one of the best songs on this whole thing. So the fact that they put that last, it's impressive, man. It leaves an impression when you finish the album. You're just like, damn, what I just heard was fucking incredible. It reinforces it. That's what I want. I'm tired of bands wimping out on the last track all the time, man. It just, that's the kind of stuff kind of bugs me a little bit. But anyway, they created a really awesome soundscape here that I'm going to introduce you guys to again. It sounded like they had no drums. It was strings, acoustic guitars, no drums, some electronic stuff in the background, keyboards. There's a lot of things going on. Here it is. Here we go. It takes an excellent musician to be able to accomplish something like that. There's like 5 different things going on at the same time. And this is a more subdued section in the track. You got the bass guitar is going boom, 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 providing this really warm tone. And then you've got the piano playing kind of lightly. And then you've got the strings. And then you've got in the background also some more electronic noise. I don't know what it is, but it sounds a little electronic. And then you've got keyboard. There's like 5 different things going on, but it sounds badass. And just the way they closed this song out, it was anything but anticlimactic. It was exactly the way I was hoping a track like this would end, an epic track, and it's a fitting end to an epic album. So yeah, I was super impressed with this thing. I'm going to go ahead and tackle these 2 last bonus tracks. Because I was so impressed with the album, sometimes I may not mess with the bonus tracks. But I'm like, I want to hear whatever else these guys have to give, like have to offer. I want to soak it in as much as possible from this band on this album. So I'm going to go ahead and listen to these final 2 bonus tracks. The first one is called As Mountains Crumble. Both tracks are over 6 minutes, so we'll see what's going on. But yeah, As Mountains Crumble, this is the bonus track, track 11. It's 6 minutes and 17 seconds. don't know what those reviewers at Angry Metal Guy were thinking when they gave this a 4 out of 5. This thing deserves like a 4.8 out of 5. 4.7, 4.8. This is really fucking close to perfection, man. Everything on this album is executed well. Even the parts that I didn't like, I thought were executed well. This song could have fit in with any of the other tracks on the album. I don't know why this is a bonus track, per se. But it's interesting. This song is great. It's great, too. And I hope, pray to God, please, this CD... When I buy the album, please let the CD come with the bonus material. I want to hear all of it, man. I don't want to miss anything on this album. The vocals, they get an A+ for the vocals on this entire album. There hasn't been a weak vocal spot on this whole thing. Whether we're talking harsh vocals, or clean, or male, or female, they've all been really, really not on par. They're not even on par. They're like better than on par. We're talking about eagles, birdies and eagles here. Damn, man. I'm gonna go ahead and let the rest of this song finish out. Great melodies on that last track. I loved the keyboard that was inserted in there too. It was a pretty long extended keyboard section, and it sounded to me like all of a sudden we were going along, it was like Amorphis, like typical Amorphis, and then we were in Prague land all of a sudden. We were like in Rush or Haken or some other Prague band kind of territory, and I was listening to one of those bands. It was really strange. It was like almost like a cameo from a certain subgenre. They can do anything, man. Amorphis, they've proven on this album that they can go folk, prog, classical, jazz, Middle Eastern. Like, they can literally wear so many hats, all the while playing these badass riffs with these incredible vocals. They're on another level from a lot of other bands out there. Even bands that try to experiment. I don't believe that a lot of other bands that use a lot of the instrumentation that Amorphis is using on this album, I don't think that many of those bands use the instrumentation as deftly and as expertly as Amorphis does. It just, when Amorphis does it, it fits. It always fits within the context of the song. And it never pulls me out of the track, it never pulls me out of the song. It always contributes in some way. And that's what I really love about what Amorphis is doing on this album. So I'm going to go ahead. This is the last bonus track, the last track, period. This is track 12, Brother and Sister. It is 6 minutes and 3 seconds long. Let's close out the album. I know the song is titled Brother and Sister, but it sounds like a love song. So this is the love song on the album right here, guys. I guess the feeling I'm getting, why I say that, is just because of the melodic choices. The way he's singing and some of the additional instrumentation. It sounds like a love song. This is obviously, I don't know if, I assume this isn't supposed to be incestuous love. I'm just saying that it sounds like he's singing out to some female that he cares a lot about. I don't know if it's his sister or whatever, but I also like kind of the distant guitars, or the peripheral kind of atmospheric guitars that are on this thing. It reminds me a lot of the opening to the song Alone by Amorphis, if you guys remember that song. Yeah, this is cool. I'm not really as into this song as I am the rest of the songs on this album. So if I was to rank this song, I might put it near the bottom with songs like Heart of the Giants, Daughter of Hate, We Accursed, but those still stack up with a lot of other songs from a lot of other albums. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this thing play the rest of the way out. Again, this song won me over in the second half, man, just like Heart of the Giant did. I loved the extended solos from the guitar and the keyboards. They sounded gorgeous, smooth. I love how they brought the growling in the second half of this track, and it got a little bit more intense. And then, of course, they brought back his vocal melody too, like the singing from earlier in the song. So this ended up being a pretty good track also, man. As I've said before, there are tracks on here, this track and Heart of the Giant, that the beginning of the track I didn't care for that much. But the second half of the track actually ended up winning me over to the whole thing. So I think that those two would be on the bottom of this track listing for me as far as we're ranking the tracks. But they're still solid songs because the songs all come around in the second half. They kind of come back and they bring it back, and it ends up being a solid song overall. So I know I've criticized other songs in the past for being good at the start and weak at the finish. For me, if a song is going to be a Jekyll and Hyde, if it's going to have one weak half and one strong half, make the stronger half the end, because you're closing on that. It's going to leave the biggest impression on someone who hears the song. And I think they're more likely to go back and listen to a song like that than they are a song that starts fast and then kind of tapers off for 3 minutes and then they don't know what the hell happened. That's just my personal opinion. So I don't want you guys thinking that I was being a hypocrite because of some of the criticisms I levied against The Old Oak, for example, off the Merciful Fate album reaction. It's just that if I'm going to have a split track like that, I would rather the second half be the stronger one. Because as I'm listening to it, I like something to build speed and build momentum and get better and better and better, instead of something that starts out pretty good and then gets progressively worse. So that's my personal opinion, that's my personal taste. But what to say about this album that I haven't already said? This album's got so many good tracks on it. This thing is worth buying. Please buy this album if you dug this video and dug this, what you've heard so far from this album. Please buy this thing. It's got incredible moments on there. I loved The Golden Elk, Grain of Sand, Amongst the Stars was good. Pyres on the Coast was, that song is fucking incredible. The Bee was excellent. There's As Mountains Crumble was excellent. There's so many songs on this album. Wrong Direction. I could just go on and on and on and on. This thing really exceeded my expectations on all fronts. I knew that it was getting some hype. I knew that there were a lot of people that were excited about this thing, and that's why I reviewed it. So that's why I did a reaction for it. But I never imagined that it would be this good. I thought it would be pretty good. I didn't expect it to be outstanding, and that's what it was. So if you guys dug the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe below. Be sure to let me know what albums you'd like to see me do in the future. After this, we're going to do a few other, actually I should say a couple albums from this year, 2018, that just came out. One of them I think came out back in February or March, but that's neither here nor there. Another one came out really recently, so we're going to get to both of those. Those should get you guys pretty excited. And then we've got a subscriber request. And then after that subscriber request, we've got one more really current, actually potentially two more if I don't get more subscriber requests. After that, there's going to be two more very current, kind of cutting edge, newer albums that I'm going to react to and drop on you guys. And I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to see all these up on the channel, because there's still a possibility that I may not enjoy the album. And if I don't enjoy it, I'm not going to make, you know, a video for it. I'm not going to spend all the time going through and editing video that I've shot for an album that I don't even enjoy. So what I do is I sit down with my camera, I start filming, I get about halfway through, maybe a little bit more than halfway through. If I don't like it, then I abandon ship and I move on to something else, because there's too much stuff out here. I had an old English teacher that said, if you're reading a book or a novel, for example, you should know whether or not that book is for you after 50 pages. If you get through 50 pages and you don't like it, move on to something else. If you get through 50 pages, you like it, keep reading. For me, when it comes to albums, I should be able to tell if I like an album or not, whether I'm gonna like one, if after I've listened to about 30 minutes of that album, or gone about halfway through, if I don't like it, I'm not gonna waste any more time on it after that. So that's just how I am. But so anyway, just wanted to give you guys a rundown of what's gonna happen. We've potentially got the next 5 reactions already nailed down. Obviously, if you guys give me some more subscriber requests, that order may change. So keep that in mind, guys. Keep requesting albums. I want to get more of you guys' input. I want to be exposed to more music from the YouTube community of metalheads. Thank you to all the subscribers. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate you guys. You guys have no idea how amazing it is to be able to put something online and then to have a bunch of strangers that you don't even know comment and say that they liked it and give you feedback. That is so freaking cool. You guys have no idea. So thank you so much. Yeah, that's it for the video. So I hope you guys enjoyed the album. I certainly did. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is Metal Album Reactions, and I'll see you guys next time.